Voidwalker rework / expansion. Bounties. Voidwalker bounties, unlike regular bounties, will no longer be based exclusively on reputation. Bounties will mostly be placed on players that earn infamy from other various factions throughout the world. Infamy can be earned in various ways, such as killing any human NPC aligned with a faction or player, or committing crimes in a faction's territory. The higher the player's power, the more infamy they will earn, and they can have bounties placed on them despite their overall reputation. Infamy can be lowered by doing jobs. This can help newer / lower level players avoid getting voidwalked, while raising the risks of attacking players in spawn locations. Voidwalkers can still take regular bounties by going to the respective faction's bounty board. Example: if a power 20 grips a bunch of players in Etria but still has enough reputation to remain friendly with them, they will still earn enough infamy to be noticed by the knives and have a bounty placed on them. Jobs, unlike bounties, are given up by players instead of being automatically created. Players will be able to request their services for various things, such as hunting down or defending a specific player. To request a job, a player will need to give up a set amount of notes or items that will be paid to the Voidwalker who takes the job. Defense jobs are jobs to protect a specific player from being killed. The player giving out the job can choose to use this on themselves or another player. Different amounts of time can be assigned with a higher price for a longer time. The job will be considered failed if the player they are protecting is killed in any way, though they will lose less reverence the lower the power the player is. Reverence. The system will be the Voidwalker's equivalent to the authorities' ranks. In order to receive any help as a Knives of Eyeless member, you'll need to earn reverence among your peers before they start using their time and resources to help you. Reverence can be earned by doing jobs and bounties assigned to the Knives of Eyeless. Successfully completing one of these will earn you an amount of reverence depending on the difficulty of the job, while failing a job / bounty will make you lose reverence. Reverence uses. Throughout Voidheart there will be various NPCs that try to make a living by offering goods and services to Voidwalkers instead of taking on jobs or bounties themselves, though they won't help just anyone. If you prove yourself in the faction, they will help you out at a cost of notes or various items, or on occasion needing to do a quest for them, which usually involves getting to take out a specific NPC. Currently, when you first spawn in as a Voidwalker and talk to the Void Mother, you get asked why you are there, with around 7 potential answers. None of these do anything to my knowledge, but I believe they have potential to connect to the reverence system. With this suggestion, after answering, you will gain different amounts of reverence depending on which path you choose. For example, I tire of my old life, increased reverence gain from using Voidwalker exclusive tools, decreased gain from non-Voidwalker bounties. I wish to grow stronger, increased reverence gain the higher the power you are, while being a lower power decreases the amount you gain. The wrist bow. It's an item directly inspired by its counterpart in the Dishonored franchise. Every Voidwalker will spawn in with a wrist bow with basic arrows, though as they gain more reverence, they can unlock more arrow types and upgrade to their wrist bows. Arrows can be bought from shops located around the Voidheart, each with their own reverence requirement. The Shadow Arrow, an invisible arrow that doesn't alert a player but will make them visible to the Voidwalker for a set amount of time in the same way current Voidwalker bounties work, max of 3 at a time. The basic arrow combat tags a player when they are shot with it, though it requires precise aiming. The arrow will be visible to all, so it can alert a target if you were to miss the shot, max of 1 at a time. The Smoke Arrow, an arrow that covers a small area in fog, you already know how that works. The Bullet Arrow restricts a target's movement slightly while pulling in anyone around them to their location. And then the Rain / Void Arrows, which imbued with the fragments of Rain / Void Spires cover a large area in storms or a void zone respectively. And then the Rope Arrow, basic arrow when shot at a wall drops down a rope that makes it easier to climb, and the Bomb Arrow. Alright, so I do actually have quite a bit to say about this. That was a really long one. I think that the wrist bow is actually a pretty good idea. I just made a video on sidearms, so actually implementing the wrist bow as like a sidearm would be cool, but honestly, something like that I don't think should be Voidwalker exclusive. I think you can make certain types, like the Shadow Arrow specifically, maybe like Voidwalker exclusive, but I think the wrist bow should not be Voidwalker exclusive. I think that's just a good idea for something that they could probably add to the game and figure out how to add into the game, right? Along with that, I do have one thing that I wanted to talk about this other than that, and it's the fact that like the whole jobs thing I think is a weird situation, because there aren't really a lot of situations in which you would need a defense job, right? Like I feel like the only way it would matter for defense jobs and then like the killing jobs is if one, you made the jobs like bounties that you set on other players cross server, that would be cool, or two, or if there was like more events that would require players to like gang up on one person, like if they had some sort of like in-game capture the flag sort of thing, like if they made like the artifacts rarer and it would ping people when one dropped and then they'd have better loot, so then people are fighting over like the artifacts that spawn in Arisia and stuff, then people would have more incentive to actually like pay for defense jobs and stuff like that. So I feel like there's more ways to incentivize that and make those useful, because in the current game I don't think a defense job would be very useful, but you get how it is. Welcome back, and in today's video I'm talking about more of the best Deepwoken suggestions that I think should probably get added to the game. If you enjoy, make sure to subscribe, since literally nobody's subscribed. I mean 0%, look at the graph. And along with that, I'm currently live on Twitch. Come watch me on Twitch because I'm live on Twitch playing Mugenics, the game that just released from the creator of The Binding of Isaac. So come watch me over there. That game's new and I'm playing it for the first time. Come watch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Reaconteur. That is twitch.tv/REACONTEUR. Now let's get straight into it. Community Oath events plus expansions. I'm going to try to address two completely unrelated issues with one post here. One, a fair amount of oaths are very irrelevant lore-wise. A few of them are quite prominent, like Contractor, War Master, and Star Kindred, while other kind of just exist in a vacuum like Link Strider and Silent Heart. So I do want to talk about that first. First of all, Link Strider literally has no lore. Like, the lore behind Link Strider was never finished because the person who wrote it is no longer like associated with the Deepwoken dev team, and they just haven't taken the liberty to rewrite it or do something with it themselves. As for Silent Heart does have lore, but the entire point is that Silent Heart is kind of meant to be irrelevant because the Void Heart, or the Void Star, or whatever it's called, that gives you Silent Heart is not like a strong entity or being. It's an amalgamation of souls that tries to make you mute of the song, but literally just fails to, so you just can't use attunement specifically. That's why you can still use bells and stuff. I don't think that the Silent Heart is actually a problem lore-wise. I think it's fine where it is, because it kind of matches the theming that it was going for, of like the hopelessness of the Void Heart. Anyway, yeah. Two, community events are cool, but look at the Squibbo games with less than 500 slots, even though there are 500,000 people in the Deepwoken Discord server. If every event is like this, most of us will never get to participate, so I'd like to propose community oath events plus expansions, simple events that anyone can participate in, each tailored to a specific oath. Examples include a contest to see which blind seer user can kill the most depths mobs using Sightless Beam in the span of a week, a race to see which Salt Chemist user can discover some obscure new potion recipes first, and a war between contractors and chain wardens lasting 2 in-game years. That's actually a really good one. I like these already. The winners of these events will have their slots turned into lore characters, maybe as an NPC you can speak to, or a historical figure in books and item descriptions, or even a boss with loot relating to the oath. These events would also have a greater effect on the world in general, such as depending on who wins Contractor Chain Warden War. In the example I give, either the Ministry or the Authority will expand their territory in-game, bringing a minor map expansion and new items relating to that faction. The Blind Seer mob grind comes with some non-competitive milestones, e.g. if the community kills 50,000 mobs and we get a new weapon, 100k gets its new armor sets, 250k gets its new map expansion, 500k earns a new boss, 1 million will be an oath, so on. I think the boss is more of a goal than the oath, but whatever. The Salt Chemist race to find new potion leads to an in-universe alchemy renaissance, including a potion rebalance and new ingredients, and the developers will have a new potion with whatever effect the winner requests within reason. I think this is actually pretty cool, but I do have another thing. They should make it a community event, right? And it's just like, who can grip the most freshies in a week, and then you just like give them any spec they want. No, I'm joking. That's stupid. I do think this is a cool idea, but I think there's the little problem of the fact that you want to turn people into lore characters, but I mean only like what, one person, unless you want to turn a bunch of people into lore characters. I would say like take like the top people, like the number one in each event, or the number one on each winning side for things. Like if it's the Blind Seer Contract Chain Warden War, then only make the number one on the winning side like a lore character. But also like how often would these be done? Because like we already do events like on a yearly basis, and I think they're trying to ramp them up at this point, but it feels like if they did this, then it sounds like there'd be a lot of events going on. But I think making them based on oaths is pretty cool, but at the same time it's kind of like, you're kind of excluding people who aren't like a part of certain oaths. I feel like maybe if you're oathless, you can try and join any side for anything, with like the exception of like Salt Chemist, because you can't brew potions like that, but maybe you could just use a regular potion brewer. So maybe like oathless people can just like freely join each side. That'd be cool, because then the oathless people could just be like hired mercenaries on each side of an event, and we could just join them freely. That'd be awesome. Anyway, yeah, next one. Thought of a few things that some oaths could have in a PvE scenario, those being Contractor, Silent Heart, and Saintsworn. More detailed explanations below. Prophet's Cripple. Judgment and successful equalizer counters will restrain enemies for 5 seconds, 2.5 seconds for bosses, stunning them. When the stun period ends, the next time they are armor broken, it will take them longer to recover their durability. I absolutely hate the name for this one. Prophet's Cripple is terrible. Next one, Embodiment of Song. When your held weapon is Saint Blade, you bypass attuned monsters' resistances and gain immunity to their on-hit effects. The immunity will start working when you're applied with the status effect stolen ether from, and will start blocking effects for 3 seconds. After those 3 seconds end, the immunity goes on a 5-second cooldown. Dread Cascade. As mentioned, successful hits and parries will build up Dread Cascade stacks. At 5 stacks, it will transform Silent Cascade from a single target attack into an AoE barrage attack with bonus PvE damage. Once Dread Cascade ends, it goes on a small cooldown to avoid spammage. I think this is actually a pretty good idea. I actually had something similar to this, well, not specifically this, but I was talking about in a video, I think a couple weeks ago, about how they should honestly just like add routes for every oath. So like some oaths can be like you could take the PvE stuff, or you could take the PvE stuff and spec out your build differently, so every oath would have like 2 different applicable routes that you could go depending on if you play PvE or PvP, and I think these would be good additions like that way. Because honestly, I know people want like a good crossover between their PvP and PvE builds, but genuinely, if you're just playing the game and you can do the PvE normally, you don't need a PvE build to do anything other than like the Heart of Enmity and Diluvian Mechanism like solo. I think most things you can do on any build as long as it's like a high enough level and not light weapons. And because of that, I don't think they should completely like try and incentivize all of this huge crossover between PvP and PvE builds, because it really just doesn't work like that. Like, they just don't have the same talents in game as it is, unless we start fusing PvP and PvE talents into one thing, and then everyone ends up with the same talents on PvP and PvE builds, and then from there it kind of just gets boring. New relic level equipment, the Kierzan Siege Commander Cape. Stats: 7 base HP, 10% frost resistance, 1 mythical pip, 1 rare. Floor 2 drop, not locked to Etheron. And it looks like this. That looks pretty cool. Overtime. Start with 20% higher cooldown on every ability. Landing critical / special abilities or monsters that have their icon crystallized will begin to reduce their own cooldown by 5%, up to 25%. So you get you start with a 20% debuff to your cooldowns, but every time you land certain mantras or crits, you get a 5% increase, which will bring you up to 25%, which will bring you up to 5% total. So is it going to be a 5% overall buff or a 25% overall buff? Because he didn't really phrase that super clearly here. Because if it's up to 25%, then it would mean you have to land 4 to get to 20%, which would take you to base, and then you'd have to land 5 more to get up to 25%. So I don't know what he means by this. Using mantras that are crystallized will remove the effect and move to another mantra on your hotbar. Criticals or abilities like Mantle, Air Counter, etc. do not require this. So as you can see in the bottom there, he has like those little crystallization icons over certain mantras, which choose which ones that you use. This is a pretty unique mechanic. And then Siege Commander, you have more proficiency when using Kierzan weaponry. Kierzan weapons that have a passive or unique effect / critical will get enhanced. Kier's Winto Sub-Zero passive procs and uppercuts. Kier's Stagger critical range is increased and has a faster charge. Kier's Glaive will summon a tiny bone wave if used far away from an opponent. Honestly, I think this is one of the best things that anyone has suggested as far as like gear goes. A lot of the time it's like overtuned garbage. I think this is unique, can provide like a new playstyle that would be fun to use and play with. I think this is just a good idea. So good job to this guy. Dap up the homies. The Dap will be a talent requiring 40 strength, 40 charisma. It will appear in your inventory as a pseudo mantra similar to Flame Within or Kickstart, so it's like an ability. Hold the button to charge a Dap. You can still move or use mobility mantras during this, but not attack. Let go of the button to release the Dap. The goal is for 2 players to release their Dap at the same time while positioned very close to each other. Ideally, the timing should be strict enough that you can't do it by a reaction. You have to be very well coordinated with whomever you're dapping up or get lucky. A successful Dap isn't easy to pull off, but it will restore posture and create sound waves that damage and stun enemies in range. The sound waves start out small and weak, but you can make them bigger and stronger through various means. Your overall Dap force will increase based on how long both players charge it for, how precise the timing is, and how fast both players are moving towards each other when they dap. Also, your attributes will affect your daps. Strength increases damage, the sound hurts everyone's ears. Fortitude increases posture recovery. Agility increases how your DAP force scales on movement speed. Intelligence increases range. You know how to cup your hands properly to create a fuller sound. Willpower reduces cooldown. Your hands recover from the slap faster. Charisma increases your stun. Your friendship leaves everyone awestruck. There may also be a few DAP talents. Command DAP requires Vow of Mastery and will force your ally to hold their hand out for a DAP. Will be a bit weaker than a normal DAP. Concussive Camaraderie requires high strength. Nearby players can be dazed or auto-executed by a perfect DAP, but only if the victim is very close to you when it goes off. Unironically, I think this is one of the best suggestions that I have ever seen. Because I think, like, I'm not even joking when I say this, one of the best things that they could ever add to the game. First of all, mantra, meme ability, it's super funny, right? But because it is a support mantra which requires 2 people, it incentivizes people to overworld gank, something that not enough people are doing. All the good players are in Chime. I can never find a good fight in the overworld because everyone in the overworld sucks. Like, dude, I'll play Chime and I'll struggle more at 1000 elo against some random using a heavy build than like 2v1ing 2 power 20s in the overworld 90% of the time. This would incentivize people to be more so in the overworld because they want to use the DAP. They want to use the DAP, so they're going to be in the overworld with their friends, they're going to be using the DAP, and they're going to be going around ganking, using the DAP. Boom! You shatter everyone's eardrums with a perfect DAP. It's just a huge shockwave, bro. And then Supa's going to come back and he's going to make the DAP duo progression, and it's going to be like 100 strength, 100 fortitude, 100 agility or something like that, and then its only mantra is going to be the DAP. And then this alone, honestly, I think would be like a huge addition to the game, and it's pretty well designed as far as like mantras go. I think this would be like one of the better things that they add to the game, you know, instead of like new mantra that is for one attunement that's also super broken for the week before they nerf it. I think this is genuinely a really good idea, so I would say add this, devs. But also I have an idea for one talent that you could add for this. You can make it like charisma based, so if you have high charisma, you get the healing DAP. So you do it, and then it scales the healing up. Based on how perfect your DAP is, it scales healing up, and instead of releasing an AoE that does damage, it recovers posture, but then it also releases a healing AoE for your allies around you. Boom, that'd be good. Full training rework V2. Suggestion aims / TLDR, merging free trainings into new mechanics surrounding full trainings. Reworking how full trainings are calculated to make them more useful at lower powers, no restrictions / nerfs this time. There is now a new section of the player profile accessible by pressing a button located above the equipment area. Explanation, the first top number is your full trainings, representing how many attribute points you can invest for free at your current power and if you have Agile or Autodidact. The second number is latent trainings, representing your raw amount of free attribute trainings, ignoring your current power. This is what you attain from quests, bosses, mini-bosses, etc. If this was added to the game, your full trainings would be converted into latent trainings at a 1-to-1 ratio, e.g. bosses would give 15 to 20. The third bottom number is your training cost, representing how much an attribute training costs, deducted from your latent trainings. In the above image, it's 0.82, so one full training would cost 0.82 latent trainings. Your training cost starts at 0.8, increases by 0.02 each power you are above 5 until power 15 where it becomes 1.0. Free trainings are gone. Instead, Agile Autodidact will provide 22% reduction to your training cost, 40% if you have both. This allows you to obtain more full trainings from your latent trainings, making leveling a lot easier. So this entire thing might be a bit hard for some of you guys to understand based on just like reading the stats for it, but essentially all it would do is make it so you could, you know, train experience faster, and there's no longer like a cap to your points. So you can kind of just get those points in as you level up, and you don't gotta like wait, if that makes sense. It's a little bit of an advanced system, but I think it's pretty cool. This did make me think of something though that they really should do. A while ago, they added the body, mind, and weapon stats, which are completely done terribly in my opinion. Because the way body and mind work right now is that, which by the way, you guys should change this for the vow of health, Operation Deep Healing, right? You guys gotta change this. Right now, mind and body stats, which are used on like 3 weapons, literally all they do is take the highest stat, and that's your mind or body. So if you have 100 willpower, 17 intelligence, you have 100 mind. I think that's stupid. I think it should be additive. So if I have 50 intelligence and 50 willpower, then I have 100 mind. If I have 100 fortitude and 25 agility, I have 125 body, right? I think that that's how they should do it, because it would allow for more build flexibility around weapons which use the mind and body stats, which is still underutilized because most weapons don't use the mind and body stats. Only a few newer ones do, which you guys should probably rework that entire system. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to be releasing a new song cover in probably Sunday or Saturday. I'll definitely have it done by then, but you know, so if you want to hear my song covers, new one dropping this weekend for YouTube members, so buy YouTube membership at any tier. But if you want to shout out, buy anything at tier 2 or higher. Speaking of members at tier 2 or higher, shout outs to the members Delusional Mo, Green, Brick, Philip, Fun Guns, Broccoli, Carlia the Witch, Akio Sugi Kuni, Burger, Vikori, IXKMB, Goobka, High Card, and Drizzy Drake Fan. Hope you guys enjoyed as usual. If you have any takes in the comments, then leave them down below. I read every comment, you know. Come watch me at twitch.tv/Reaconteur. I'm playing Eugenics right now, and I'll probably release a Eugenics video on Saturday, like literally tomorrow on the live channel. So go watch me over there at Raycon Live for my non-Roblox, non-Deepwoken stuff. I think it's very fun. That's where I put the passion and the effort. So the editing's actually better over there. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. Have an amazing day as usual, and goodbye.